Hello, everyone, and welcome to round 18 of the 2022 Scrabble Players Championship. I am Morris Greenberg, and I'm here with Annette Oberstad and Jared Capel.
Hello
Hello,
again.
everyone.
So, this round, we will see Joey again. We saw him win last round, and he is a game up on the field. And we'll see Jeremy Hall, who we saw won 2 rounds ago. So, it almost feels like if you win a game on the stream, you're guaranteed to come back on the stream.
Yeah, we like to see winners, and Jeremy is having himself quite the tournament. He didn't show any nerves playing on stream, which can be very difficult, and he's one of the many low seeds who have done really well so far in this tournament. Robin in third place was the 22nd seed coming in. Jeremy in fourth place was the 34th seed. Michael in fifth place, the 28th seed. And we also see Barry Keith and Clay Daniel coming in at 23 and 29. So what we've really seen is that even though there are some elite players in this field, anyone can win games, and it's really close.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they end up doing further in the tournament if they have a chance to actually win it.
Yeah, and I do wonder to some extent if this is the COVID effect, where player rating, if you're rated before COVID, and player skill level, depending on if you've played a lot during COVID, started a lot during COVID, or haven't really touched anything. Yeah, I know I'm one of those people in the second category.
But I'm
I
sure there's
wonder
a
if
lot of
that's
people
part
in
of
the, in
it.
the other category as well.
Yeah. So I wonder if that's to some extent what's happening here. That a lot of the players who are signing up who are lower seeded just have put in the work over a 2 year period where they haven't been able to show that over games.
There's also a lot to just be said for variance. We might see the better players as we get closer towards round 31 start to creep back up from the middle of the field where some of them have been lingering in the standings, and we might see them all playing live on stream very soon.
Yeah, and one thing to remember is top 2 players is what you really are shooting for. You're not just shooting for top position here, just because the format of this tournament is 4 days of games, 28 games total, and then the top 2 go to a finals. So even though Joey's 1 game up on the field, the number that a lot of people are thinking isn't the 13 wins you see next to Joey. It's really the 12 wins you see next to Ori Swift. So someone like Will Anderson, who we know the stream loves, chat loves, he's at 10 wins. He really needs to think, okay, I'm only 2 games back here. I just need to keep playing my game. Don't go crazy. 3 games, yeah, towards the end, you might need to start going like full kamikaze, I think, is one way I've heard a player call it, of just, opening things, hoping for the best, catching up on spread, everything you can do. But, you know, you're playing to the second person in the pack, not the first person in the pack.
Yeah, that makes for an interesting dynamic for sure. When you can actually play for second place instead of playing for first place.
And Will is at 10 and 7, and also Jackson Smiley's at 10 and 7. So we see a couple of the very top favorites in the field, only 2 games back, as Morris points out, of striking distance for the championship.
Yeah, though I will say, even though Jared mentioned some of the lower rated players are doing well right now, Robin is a lower rated player in this field, but her peak is basically as high as Joey is rated right now.
Right.
So, and she was someone who took time off to get a degree. So when her last few tournaments before COVID, she was getting her rating lowered because she wasn't at her peak form. She's probably now closer to her peak form. So really, when you're seeing some of these lower seeds, you want to think they're just Joey, but with a lower number.
Yeah, it's no surprise to see Robin near the top. We often see Robin doing what we're doing right now, which is commentating, but this
Yeah,
year she
she's a
decided
really
she
good
wanted to
commentator.
play, and that's probably a good indication that she felt very sharp in her game.
Yeah, but we are off now. Jeremy has drawn his letters. He has a lot of duplicates or triplets, I guess, even with the E's, but he does have a valuable X.
Which he just dropped onto the table. So looked like Joey was looking down. He probably didn't see that, but we'll probably see the X get played
Yeah,
either way,
something like
unless
Lex
Jeremy
looks
looks to
pretty
set
good.
it up, which is also possible. He could play Hell,
Yeah.
slotting the E above the double score to maybe try and set up the X for the
I
next
don't love
turn.
doing that on my first turn because I feel like if you set up a hotspot, your opponent is just always going to use it because it's always going to be the
They
best
often
spot on
do,
the board.
yes.
Yeah, so the like high level meta thing you want to think there is if you're going to do that and your opponent plays, can you make a play underneath that? So for
Right.
instance, Hell can make he underneath.
Hmm.
That's the hotspot we're creating
Right.
because and then but beneath he you can play Hex. And that
Yeah.
actually would open up an even more valuable X spot.
But I
Exactly.
think
That
Joey
X
is
spot would be
smart
on the
enough to
triple,
know
not the
that if he
double.
slots the E next to the double letter, like there's something going on here.
Yeah, so really you only want to do that if you have a letter that can work with a lot of things with, right?
Mhm.
The T, for instance, makes tax and ticks.
Right.
So that would be a better version of that.
But
Mhm.
So
I misspoke by saying hell. What we should be thinking is what Jeremy has set up of heal, getting rid of the duplication of the E's, leaving LEX, which is a word on its own. So I like that idea of
Right, and
heal,
that
and
also
that
doesn't
wouldn't
give
give
away the
any
fact that
indication that
he
he's
is
setting up the X.
exactly, yeah.
yeah, Annette got the poker intuition there for
Yeah.
sure. Of heal wouldn't expose that much information to
Oh,
Joey.
Yeah, he ends
so
up playing what
instead he
I would have
plays
gone with.
Lex.
I like that. That's probably what I would have played.
Yeah, that's interesting. Lex does take a lot of front hooks, including the I is the most likely of those since that's the one vowel. And Joey does have an I here. Also, plex, flex.
Hmm.
So it definitely does take a lot of front hooks, and Jeremy doesn't have them. That's why I kind of prefer heal there, but I think it's
I
a
also like
stylistic
heal.
I was
preference.
gonna say, I think it's a stylistic thing too. I'm not someone who likes to hold on to the power tiles for longer than I have to, unless it's the Z, then I don't mind, but I like to get rid of the J and the X and the Q as soon as
But
possible.
like Morris had pointed out, it gave an initial spot for the X, and if it was underlapped, it was maybe given an even better spot for the X. So hanging on to that X early seems smart to me because Lex, not only can you hook it, but you can underlap it for a lot of points. And
Yeah,
the HEEL leave is okay, but it's not anything special.
I will say, to be fair, that I've heard from I think Jesse Day is the expert who really has analyzed this before that the X at the beginning of the game isn't that valuable a tile,
Right.
Hmm.
just because there aren't natural spots where it can go where it can score 30, 40 points, whereas mid and end game that can often be the case.
Yeah.
So the X normally we think of it as a super great tile. At the beginning of the game, in your mental math in your head, you want to deduct a point or two in its value. So
Yeah.
I think it's pretty reasonable. And Joey's
People often
playing.
exchange the X on the opening rack for that reason. If you have a clunky rack you can't play through, and you'll often throw the X back, whereas later in the game,
Hmm.
often you'll keep it, especially if the specific board has a spot for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Joey made a very reasonable play there of PIU keeping DEET. Uh, it will lead to a somewhat awkward position for a lot of racks, just because the U, there aren't that many tiles that go out in front of it, especially now that the X has been played. Only an M and an N go in front of the U, so the bottom left quadrant of the board will be kind of hard to develop for a few turns. We'll see how that unfolds. In
Yeah,
the
and also
meantime,
if there
though,
if there are new players to the game, PIU does not take an S.
It doesn't
yes,
take
good
any back
point.
hooks.
Good
So
point.
as Jeremy plays Bell, leaving the as a leave, THE,
That looks pretty good.
um,
Yeah,
looked
yeah,
reasonable.
yeah. Either that or Bethel is the other option there, but Bethel is a bit
No.
too, yeah, much for my liking, just because it slots an E right above the double letter
Right.
score.
He could have left off the last L, I guess, if he wanted to play it a bit differently, to set up the L and the T he was holding, and not to give the L to play through, or below an A or an O, and then go towards the triple. But I like the decision here.
Yeah, and we might see another staircase here to some extent. I see that Hex can be played now by Joey instead of Jeremy, and he could play something like Heed here.
Yeah, Heat is sort of the only thing you're seeing. His tiles don't match this board very nicely.
I mean, he could also hook Bell with the E and play
Oh,
something like
true.
Herded.
Yeah, Herded is a really nice option as well. Joey might favor that route, and the reason is right now, if Joey thinks he is the better player, which to be fair, he is higher rated and leading the division, uh, he wants to have it as open of a game as possible so he can, right, if he thinks both of them are good but Joey's more likely to see the big plays, he'll want it to be open. And so I
And
think
that's what
Herded,
he's doing.
yeah, Herded makes a lot of sense if from Joey's perspective he thinks he's the favorite in this game.
I missed that back hook, so it's definitely a very nice find by Joey. And Bell, you could put a D at the end. You see a D on Jeremy's rack.
Yeah, so there is the very hefty hutched as an option now through that H in Herded. That would score 34, keeping an I. Seems like a decent option here.
Yeah, that's a lot of points.
Assuming he knows that hutch
Right.
is a word. Like, I think of hutch as a piece of furniture, so...
I mean, you could also play hitched in the same spot, but that leaves a U, which isn't as good.
No, if he knows hutched, he would definitely favor
Yeah, if he does
that.
know it,
He
of
has
course, yeah.
Chide set up, which would play parallel to Herded.
Yeah, the coolest play, I think, in a lot of ways, since CHEIT is so synergistic, he could play duplex, throwing open the left side of the board. That would score 18. The leave of CEHIT is really synergistic too, so I think that does have merit. If you want to think of Scrabble as a 3-turn sequence of how many points you score now, how many points your opponent can score, how many points you can score the next turn, that might be netting as much as hutched.
The ITCHE would go really well with the D in duplex, as well as the R in herded. So there is some thought that. He has shoot set up, which would go on the left side of herded, which is also reasonable. It scores really well, scores more than duplex for sure. But this is one of those tricky turns. We were talking about it last game. There's a few different ways you can go with it, and the play you make here will really shape the next few plays going forwards.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of pretty decent options here too. So he's going to go with Chide.
Yeah, that's
a very aggressive move.
I wonder why he's picking Chide over shoot to get rid of the U would be my first thought, maybe.
Yeah, and I'm thinking also just keeping the C could be fun and just playing hide instead.
That's definitely possible. The C would be the only front hook, at least that I can think of there.
Yeah, I don't see why you would open a triple there. So it's kind of early in the game.
Yeah, in defense of Chide over shoot, so I think a few things. One, it does score more points, 6 more.
Yeah, it does.
And
but
the other thing is,
a lot more.
Against Joey, if you play shoot, on the other side you make ER, and 9-letter words are ending in ER are definitely in Joey's capability, whereas RE is a lot less common.
Right. I don't know if that's necessarily something I would be worried about. I mean, there is ED here now, so...
Yeah, that's fair.
You know.
Joey plays a vowel-less word of CWM, C-W-M. That might look really strange. I recognize that word from John Krakauer's book, Into Thin Air.
Yes.
Something to do with like a mountain pass, I think. It's a Welsh word, I believe. I believe the Welsh use the W as a vowel. And I remember seeing that word come up quite a lot. The only other place I've really seen it. And Jeremy, look at that. I think we saw him draw both blanks in the earlier game, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I think that was Clay Daniel.
Oh, that was Clay, excuse me.
Right.
Well, Clay didn't play them both at once. He played Zag for about 54 and then bingoed on a subsequent turn. Jeremy, though, because he doesn't have high scoring tiles, is going to look to bingo. The first place he might look would be from the M and Coom for something like Mutilate that he has set up on his rack.
There's a beautiful play here that's already been mentioned in chat of a bingo down from BE to make a 9.
Yeah, what a great find of Beatitude by the chat, but I think Mutilate, which he's playing now, is also super strong.
Yeah,
now,
of course,
Z
but
will
playing
be
a 9 is
play.
to flex.
Yeah, true. I mean, flexes aside, it scores more. The Z will also be a tile to monitor now. If you notice, the A in Mutilate is right next to a triple letter score, and Za is a word, so you could see a parallel play starting with a Z for a ton of points.
155. Yes.
So Joey did draw some vowels to help out his rack here. So he has the U with the Q, and he's going to play quare, I believe.
Quatre,
Oh,
maybe?
quatra. He's going to get rid of
Yeah.
one more consonant.
Yeah.
Quatra is the French word for four. I believe in Scrabble it's from some sort of a card game. I think that's how it ended up in the dictionary.
Yeah, that was a miss, I think. Burka was available there too. Burka off of Mutilate, making
Oh.
Bots and RE for 37. Uh,
Yeah, that keeps better as well.
yeah, and especially since Joey is down now, he wanted to keep the ED open as a lane. That would have been a really juicy lane for him. So I
And it would
think,
open a new section of the board for him as well.
Yeah, Quatre
yes.
really shuts off that top portion of the board with a Q.
So I think, we say Joey plays quickly, and there are definitely advantages to that. Yeah, I think if Joey spent more time on that turn, he would have seen Burka and would have opted to play it if he thought it between the two. I think that was a fast play mistake.
Whereas Jeremy here is in a very poor rack with 6 vowels and one of the worst consonants in the game, the W. He's definitely going to be considering exchanging. He could also play owie as he is set up right now.
Any love for Wed underneath Quatre, making all and tell?
Leaving 5 vowels,
It's
it
32
scores a lot
points
better
though.
than owie, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is a lot of points.
It's a lot of points, and on this board now, after Joey's next turn, you think it would be an opportune time to exchange anyways, just because it will be a pretty close board. You'd
But
force
with
Joey
the
to have
board
to
so
open.
close in his lead, maybe he just looks for a way to clog things up. He would love if he could just play a couple tiles between like the bell, sort of the herded and mutilated. If he could shut there, there's really just that floating O, the floating U from, and he's going to exchange 6.
Yeah, I think I like exchanging there
I
over
would have
playing
exchanged
owie.
too, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. With a lead, if you're up 155 to 113, 32 points is a lot of points, and
Yeah, you
really
can always
forces
exchange on
Joey.
your next turn, which is something to.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like after all and then Berg, it would have been an opportune time to exchange anyways. Whereas now, Joey has basically made it within 15 points. Granted, he did happen to pick up really great letters, so there is something to say for that. But yeah, I think I would have opted for all.
I often tell
last turn.
people if you can score 30 that turn, like why not take it? Who knows you're going to exchange into better. You want to consider when is the good time to exchange because you don't want to be caught having to exchange when there are big juicy spots available. Like I spoke about flexibility of your rack earlier. If you have a very unflexible rack, let's say he drew 2 vowels after the play of Wed, the proposed play, and Joey bingo down, suddenly there could be this big open board that he would want to do something with, and he might have to exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I am going to monitor now, given how close the board is 5-letter words ending in Q. Umiak and Trank are both available
Good point,
potentially. Like those will swing the game a lot just because there'll be 40-plus point plays, and they'll open up 3 new lanes almost definitely, unless a play like Duplex comes and then another play comes up from that.
This is a really frustrating spot for Jeremy.
Yeah. I guess, what other Plex fronts are there? I know Simplex is another one. I guess I'm a math person, so that's...
Suplex, Fourplex, like, I wonder if there's any that hit. Like, I think we have a command in the Twitch chat that can... Oh, Noah's telling me Suplex is no good. Multiplex, that would be great. That would actually hit.
Ooh.
Nice find by Alex Dings.
Apparently, Metroplex is also a word.
Yeah, I for a second thought the M in Mutilate was played with Mutilate, and I thought, wait a minute, should he have played Multiplex there and kept the other blank?
Oh.
But no, the M was already on the board. So.
That would have been nice.
But, Multiplex, so only one M has been played. I wonder if that's something that Joey maybe could think of. I would give him credit to have that in his head if he draws an M. So multiplex maybe could come down. I guess 3 U's have been played also, so that makes it extra difficult. You need both the last M and the last U.
Yeah,
But
metroplex is also a word that could fit there.
yeah, that's another
I
nice
wonder
one.
if they
Assuming they
know
know it.
Metroplex though.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think either of these players study 9-letter words. Multiplex would seem more common to me than Metroplex.
See, I haven't heard any of them, so I wouldn't know which one was more common.
Yeah, it is impressive. Annette's second language is English.
Yeah, there's
And
a lot of words that people make fun of me for not knowing.
yeah, and to be fair, like I was once talking with Josh Sokol, and English is his first language, I think, not French. And he didn't know the word ampersand. I think actually Cesar in the chat gave us the anagram of man spread is
Okay.
ampersand, and he just didn't know it as a word. So I feel like even English speaking first language people don't know common English words, and
Yeah.
that didn't mean to harp on Josh specifically.
No, but you do see it with a lot of Scrabble experts who might know these crazy obscure words, but something common from everyday speech comes up and they don't necessarily know it or even how to spell it. Jeremy here, though, is probably going to have to play off one E, and that's what he's going to do. B.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot of places to do that.
His lane for Berg, but
Yeah. I mean, where else was he going to play off that? I guess he could have played.
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I
next.
don't
He could
even
have
know.
played
He
Tell,
played
I
Tell.
guess, if you wanted
Yeah.
to leave it a bit more
Yeah, that
open.
might have been better.
Yeah, but he picked up the Z with it, so Zetins and Zanius.
Zanius.
Yeah.
And they
Oh,
both
wow, look at this.
play. But Joey is going to be smart and block
Yep.
based on that last play. Not only
Right.
did he just play off one tile, but he spent so much time looking for things, probably looking for nines, that Joey's like, yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, otherwise maybe he would have played something like Largo, keeping SAC.
Yeah. So
Yeah, now what do you do?
And Joey's going to be really annoyed when Jeremy plays the Z here because he knows that's the one tile he drew. So
Right.
Zeta might be a play, Zeta to the A in Quatre. That seems
Yeah,
kind
that
of
looks pretty
natural.
good. Sets up a nice E lane too.
Yeah, you could play Za above the A and the R in Cargos as well.
I think Zeta makes a bit more sense. Like
Yeah.
Annette pointed out, it gives that E lane. You need a new lane if you're looking to bingo. And it also, where is Joey supposed to score after Zeta comes down unless he himself can bingo to the E? Because Za above Cargos would set up a big scoring spot beneath it if you could hit that double word score. But after Zeta, there's really nothing except for maybe that 5-letter word ending in Q that you suggested.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about Za is if Joey has a counterplay after that, that will create an S lane, right? So if you play Za above Cargos, that'll create a second Za. And so if Joey plays like Zag or Zap underneath, that will create an S lane for Zags. So Zeta is the play here. I think either is fine. It's a stylistic preference, I think, between the two in a lot of ways.
I like Zeta
I think
here.
Zeta is a bit better, especially Jeremy knowing that Joey knows that Jeremy's close to a bingo. I think you have to play Zeta here, and that's what he does. So that's a nice find.
Yeah, I like that you said, yeah, Jeremy knows that
Yeah.
Joey knows that Jeremy knows. I think there's an episode of Friends like where they say, well, they know that we know that they know that we, and it keeps they keep playing mind games. I mean, that is kind of a poker-like thing in it, right?
Definitely. I love the mind games that are involved in certain Scrabble games. I mean, at club, like a lot of the players that I play with on a regular basis will chat during the games and, you know, banter back and forth, and it makes for really, really fun games.
Jeremy's drawn into Farina's, which is like a cereal grain. If a bingo lane does come open, we know Joey's not going to be looking to open here, but he is down. He plays Navy. It's pretty much the only thing I could have seen him to do.
Yeah, I think that's right. And the M he now has, the M, as we said before, could be a really valuable tile if you see the key multiplex or metroplex and Umiak potentially.
Right.
So the M
Also,
could
if you
be
put the M instead of the U there, it would open up emu opportunities. So if Joey's trying to close, even though NU can also take a different animal, GNU, instead of emu, it's not quite as dangerous as opening up for the E.
Yeah, so in this position, the U weirdly is going to be a super powerful tile that Joey would hope for, just because he has MIA. Umiak could be so key. Uh, and Jeremy just plays Fae for 18. It's a pretty standard natural play. Yeah, Ofe is a word, and there are 7 O's still out, I
No,
think.
Ofe was removed.
Oh,
that's
shoot.
no longer
I
good.
forgot.
No longer a word.
I
He played
forgot.
it
Yeah.
awfully quickly, but you can see Jeremy's down under 10 minutes. Joey once again has put the pressure on his opponent with speed. Jeremy also could have considered Fava to set up a new lane, but he has to think
I'm thinking he
that,
probably wanted to keep one of his ace for the Trank in case he drew the T.
yeah,
Yeah, and so he likely will actually get rid of the M here because if he sees Mikva directly above
Oh,
Faye,
wow.
beautiful.
Mikva, that will be over 40 points, and really what Joey needs here to finally take a lead for the
Yeah,
first
that would
time
be a
in
really
while.
nice find. That is not a spot you're looking to put a K.
Well, he is actually taking time here, unlike when he missed Burka earlier in the game, and so I think he should find it. Like, it's a play once you see it, you're just insta-playing it.
But that KV letter pattern is so
Yeah,
counterintuitive.
it
I
is.
think you definitely can find this, but he hasn't found it yet because, like you said, it would have come down.
Yeah, and I guess the one thing to notice is if he already had it set up before the play, that's one thing, right? Because you just have Mikva and then you realize, oh, he's still giving the Mikva, but for way more points. He didn't set it up before Jeremy played,
Right.
So it's harder to see once you look at the more obstructed board.
If he doesn't see Mikva, what other options are you seeing here?
Not much.
Yeah, not
No.
much.
That
So-
might give him more of a chance to find it. Sometimes if you have a play that's slightly lesser, you'll see that one quicker, and then you won't take the extra time to find Mikva. Whereas here, if every other play is so much less appealing, he might have to spend a few extra minutes, and maybe eventually he realizes,
Ooh,
oh,
he
look
finds
what
another
I have.
nice
He
and
ends
play.
up going
nope.
for the second
He-
highest point scoring play here.
Yeah, he found exec as a nice insertion, but
Yeah.
uh,
That
won't-
leave is not fun.
well, it keeps MIA. Keep in mind for Umiak, so
That's true.
maybe it could be that he already sees Umiak, and we saw this before yesterday, where a player had a bit of tunnel vision towards a specific spot on the board. Now,
Yeah,
I think
I
it's
think
more
we've all
granted.
been there trying to fish for something.
Yeah.
I think it's granted, though, in this case, given how limited the board is. And actually, even if Jeremy does have bingos to the E. I think, right, the last tile there is a... Oh, no, it's a Y, not a T. Excuse me. I misread that. I was going to say those bingos still preserve the possibility of Umiak, but never mind.
But also remember, 3 U's have been played, so you don't really want to be fishing for just one tile.
Right.
It's something to keep in mind. It's a consideration, but it's not that likely just based on the probability. As Jeremy drops YE, leaving Reigns as a leave.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if he's looking at Trank also, although... Like, maybe they both have just thought the board isn't going to open up for bingos, so I might as well keep letters that are both good for bingoing, but also good for the potential big scoring spot of the board.
There's also only one G left for that GNU spot that I pointed out earlier.
Yeah.
Jeremy just drew 2 O's, which isn't going to help him, and Joey has 2 I's, so the duplications are hurting both these players' racks.
Yeah, this is a tough one, though. After K, he did give himself KO as a hook. Although now I'm nervous about these 4-letter words with O
No,
extensions.
KO is still in the dictionary.
KO is in the
Yeah,
dictionary.
KO is good still.
Okay.
I mean, looking at Joey's rack, I would
Okay is
probably
also in
play
the
something
dictionary.
like Fit here, maybe. Still keeping the Yumiak open with breath.
Yeah, I think Fid makes a lot of sense. He could play Diplex also.
Yeah, but
Yeah, he goes
I
for
don't think
Fib.
with his leave he's going to necessarily want to do that on this turn at least.
Yeah, and given how Jeremy's been playing short,
Yeah, he
he
probably
should
thinks Jeremy is
assume
closer to a bingo than he actually is. That
exactly.
0-0 draw can really mess with your inferences of your opponent's rack.
Yeah, but it's a 3-point game, and it's nearing the end. I mean, this is a duel of a game, and we've seen open board games. This is a grinder.
Right. And Avion comes down quickly. Jeremy definitely has noticed that his clock's running down. We've seen the last couple turns him playing a lot quicker. And that takes out any sort of a bingo lane. Although I guess
Oh, and it does look like
potentially
Joey drew
beneath
into the
ref,
U
you
here.
could still sort of fit
Oh.
a bingo there.
He
Oh
misses
no,
Umiak.
he misses Umiak.
Oh, that's sad. I would think after keeping those letters for so many turns, that's what he was going for, but
yeah.
But if you're going to miss Umiak, Unmew is
yeah,
a very
Unmew
nice
is still a
find.
really nice play, but it would have been so fun to see though.
It's a pretty but like I feel like that's as bad as missing a bingo in most situations. Just because on this board there's such limited scoring, and like the E and Unmew, if you think Jeremy's holding
Right.
good tiles,
Yeah.
it really is a juicy lane. Yeah, I mean it's he obviously stream. We always say it's really hard to play on stream, but I just feel like Joey's playing really fast right now.
Very
Like
fast.
Yeah,
Like,
he has
these
so
are-
much time. He might as well
and
use some of it.
And I think the reason why I'm sighing is because Joey can find these plays. Like Joey
course.
is that good, and
Yeah.
Joey, like we've seen him make really strong plays, play after play. But yeah, just once you start playing fast, you need to make sure that you're giving your right. It's tempting to fast play the other player, but you don't want to play so fast that then you start inducing your own mistakes.
But
Right.
we've noticed Joey's mistakes from playing fast. What's harder to see is if Jeremy would have found something better if he had a bit more time on certain turns, right? Like he's
Right.
played
Yeah.
his last 3 or 4 turns very fast. He wants to leave himself time for the end game. The worst thing, the time in Scrabble when you need the most time is at the end of the game, as Joey plays basically instantly. This game is moving at a breakneck pace. So, org, that S hook could come up big. Jeremy now has an S. He also has the J, but
Yeah,
it doesn't look
like he
like
can
any
do much
word is
with
going
it.
to quite get there.
Yeah, that's it's interesting. I mean,
Joey did draw into a pretty decent play there with the S. If it's left open.
Jeremy's grabbing the J-O as if to suggest he might play just Joe,
Jog?
or is there a better J-O play somewhere? Jog to take out that spot a bit?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Again, he'd like to have more time to think here, which is part of Joey's strategy of getting him so low on clock.
yeah, I mean, Arioso would be a kind of nice idea. If we look at the pool, there definitely are a lot of tiles that are repeated on on Jeremy's rack in the pool. Right, there are some O's, there are some I's. So Arioso to just clear it out underneath.
But the J doesn't leave you a lot of flexibility going into the end game. That's not the sort of tile you really want to be bringing with you.
Yeah, fair.
But it does score nicely, and
13.
Jiao. Okay, that's
Interesting.
better than Jog or Joe.
286.
I like the idea to jump the J there for sure.
Oh,
Oh,
Joey's
no.
playing both A's.
42.
Oh,
I think this is gonna get
no.
challenged off.
Oh,
I believe in
yeah.
you, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
that's
damn.
Yeah, quickly.
wow.
It's
yeah,
so easy to keep the dictionary straight sometimes.
yeah, and I think Joey
I
if
think
Joey
he knew it.
saw,
He tried to fast play him.
yeah, I think after seeing Zhao, you have to assume your opponent knows that Ofe isn't good.
True.
Yeah.
Right. Right, Zhao, like otherwise he would have played JIAO
Yeah.
there last turn, for instance.
Or just Jo. It scores
or-
more there, and it
Mhm.
takes out a lane if you think that's a word, right?
Right. So
Oh,
yeah,
that is a huge swing here.
Oh, Jeremy's clock is still running. Is that from our end or?
82 to.
no, I don't think
Hopefully
so.
he
I
didn't
think
forget to hit it.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
don't think so. I think, especially by now, I think one of them would have noticed.
yeah, I think Joey
Looks like it's
just hit the
paused now.
clock very quickly. So wow, what a
Oh,
swing! And
okay.
yeah, this is
Very good.
this. It's still going to be a close game, to be fair. I mean, Zhao didn't score that many points last turn, but this does give Jeremy the ability to shape the end game.
And Joey could have played Visa and Orgs.
Yeah.
So, very
And now Jeremy
surprising.
knows a lot
I
of
thought
Joey's
it was an
rack.
intentional phony by Joey, but I didn't have a time
No,
to
I
look
don't.
for
I
possible
don't.
plays
I don't
for
think
him.
it was.
I think it wasn't intentional at all.
Yeah,
I think he
no.
just forgot that he was playing with this dictionary.
Like, even more so than just not having the word, you have to assume, if you're Joey, that Jeremy
yeah.
knows after Zhao
Mhm.
that Ofe isn't good. So he wouldn't be intentional there, knowing that information.
No, and that's a costly phony by Joey. Because now he goes down. Do we have the updated score?
It just
309 to
updated.
282, so that's 27 points. And 27 points on some boards isn't that much. On this specific board, 27 points pretty much means you're going to have to hit a bingo to catch up most of the time. There just aren't many scoring spots available.
Well, he now might have to hope there's an R in the bag to go for Trank, right?
Yeah, or maybe a
Or a
bingo,
bingo
to the
to
E
the
and
E,
Zeta
yeah.
if he can.
Right. Yeah, that might be more natural.
Yeah, it's really tough to open up anything else too.
Yeah, like where could he? Did any
I mean,
of
he
those
could play like
Plex
Via
front
or the
extensions play? I don't think so. He could play Via and Fa.
Yeah.
But then what he would want to do is look through STON and see, is that going to hit bingos to the E?
Right.
I
I mean, the nice thing about
Joey play
doing
really
that, though, a lot of the
fast.
time is that if you do play VIA and Jeremy tries to block, he'll probably open another lane to bingo down to if he plays a four-letter word.
Right. I actually think Jeremy's closer to Trank just by virtue of there being two T's unseen.
From
No, I
his
think there's only one
perspective.
T unseen.
No, from
from his,
From his
Joey's
perspective.
perspective.
Right, of
So from
course.
Jeremy's perspective, I believe there's three T's unseen.
Are
No,
there?
I think that would be
there's
two.
only two.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
no, I'm counting them now. There's four T's on the board, so two unseen. Like Joey could just play something beneath Fido to score a few points, but because he's down, I don't think he's necessarily going to want to do that. He really wants to get a second lane open if possible.
Yeah, it's a tough position. I mean, really, you need to extend at this point a word, right? So if there's any extension to Plex he has, for instance, he might be able to create a lane that way. But it's a
Yeah, it
tough
looks like
spot.
he's thinking about playing Ova in that
A
same
few people
spot.
in the chat are suggesting just playing off an O to fish for sanative, but I wouldn't want to play off one tile to fish right now just because it would really
There's only
telegraph
one
that
place,
that's what you're
exactly.
doing, and there's
Yeah.
only one spot for Jeremy to block.
Yeah, it
So
would be
Ova
pretty
looks,
easy to block that.
Ova looks like a better version of my suggestion of Via.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so
I think Ova looks like a strong play.
yeah,
Because
Ova.
now he has the TION extension to end in
Right.
there if it doesn't get blocked, which I mean it probably will, but That's a good
Most
lead
likely,
to
but
bingo
it's
to an E,
still
though.
SINT could work towards the E,
Yeah.
or if Jeremy tries to score anything through the O, it might open up another lane, like unless he just plays two letters.
right.
Yeah, and apologies. I think the score is updating right now, but the tiles in the bag aren't. Just an issue we'll sort out in advance of the afternoon. So I think I just noticed the tile bag isn't updating, unfortunately. I'll post some of the tiles in the chat, though.
Jeremy has a pretty ugly rack here, all one-pointers, duplicate I's and N's. He could clear up the duplicates just by playing Ion for 9 points, but ideally he'd like to score more than that, but that really does close things on Joey too. But you could also get outrun here. If you don't score enough, Joey could start scoring, and despite him not having a big bingo lane that we've been worried about, you can still lose the game.
So from Jeremy's perspective here, is there one tile left in the bag?
Yeah, so there's one tile left in the bag, which is a T.
So he's probably trying to figure out if there are any bingos to any of those spots and which ones he needs to block.
It looks like he's thinking of setting up Inyon, I-N-I-O-N, which would give Joey a bingo out to win. So that would not work out well for him. What he wants to do here is, like, he doesn't have a lot of time, but he wants to see what potential 7-letter bingos there could be. And one he might see is this obscure word of Pontils, Pontils, which is what's sitting on Joey's rack right now.
Yeah, is that the only one of these? I'm trying to think. That might be the only bingo there.
Spotlit, I also see as a
Spotlit.
possibility.
Nice. Yeah.
So there are a couple. So I would be very scared to open up a 7 lane, as we call it, a place to put down a 7-letter bingo. Unfortunately for Jeremy, he is low on clock. So once again, we were criticizing Joey for playing a bit too fast.
Yeah, it might work in his favor this time.
Potentially, it might work out really well for him here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what I would do in his spot here.
So yeah, you need to see the 7s. Oh no.
Yeah.
He's playing Indian.
18.
He's just hoping that Joey doesn't have a bingo. I mean, this probably does win all the time.
There's
Joey doesn't
no
have a
E's
bingo.
left in the bag, so Noah Slackoff points out Ronion, R-O-N-I-O-N, and that's going to win every time. So if he had more time, maybe he's able to find that. Unfortunately, Joey's going to waste no time and cruise to victory here.
Pontils. Since you're found
Yeah, so what an ending, man. I mean, it was such a tough game in a lot of ways too. Jeremy had to think positionally for so many turns in a row that exhaustion could add up pretty quickly.
And also, he was so low on time too.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, like Joey cost himself on a couple turns playing fast, but it really led to the win at the end too.
Yeah.
Take this on.
I think if Jeremy had had a bit more time, he would have seen that there were bingos like Pontils and Spotlit. He would have made sure not to open up such a lane, and the T was in the bag, which was that Trank play we had talked about so many times.
Yeah, so yeah, I think Ian would have even won it maybe.
Yeah, just Ion was probably enough there, knowing what Joey had. You know, Jeremy wants to play off a few there ideally because he wants tempo going into the end game so that he can probably go out on the next turn, which is maybe why he played a bit longer. But by opening that 7-letter bingo lane, it just allowed him to get hit by Pontils or also Spotlit that I saw, and perhaps there was even another.
Yeah, so wow, what an ending. I mean, sometimes though, when you like to win a nationals, you need your opponent to give you a win when it wasn't there. Often, like,
yeah, you need to get lucky in that sense, I think.
But
at least
it's
in a
more
couple
than just
games.
luck, because Ova was like a great play. The three of us were all sitting here with engines and stuff, and Joey found it before we came across it. So hats off to Joey. I thought, despite rushing a couple turns, he also made quite a few great plays.
Yeah, I feel like this was a very well played game overall.
yeah, it's you always feel bad after you made so many good plays to like make one mistake and it be so costly, but that's sometimes Scrabble.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it
one
happens.
mistake
I think we've
can
all been
kill
there.
you, and one good play can kill you. Sometimes you're punished for the play that you make that's the right play. Scrabble can be very brutal like that.
That's my
Yeah.
As we see another Toronto player, Roger Cullman, show up just sitting after the game and chatting with Joey. Roger's also quite a photographer in his own right. And so some of the pictures that you can see, I'll put that command back in the chat for you. You can check it out on Instagram or on Instagram at the NASPA _ Scrabble page. I'll put the command into the chat for you.
And
that guy is Roger, WTF.
No.
And we'll also put the live coverage page, which you can see even more photos from the tournament as a part of that.
And Ori won
we
his
are
last
now
game,
going-
so he remains just 1 game back. Michael and Clay remain just 2 games back, and I'm sure a couple of the other 11 and 6 players will also remain 2 games back once their games finish.
Yeah, but for now we will take a break. Jared will actually be stepping out of the commentary booth for Chloe Fatsis, who I think we've mentioned a few times in the afternoon. But we should continue to see a lot of great games as we inch towards the end of the first 3 days of the North American, or excuse me, the 2022 Scrabble Players Championship.
Brought to us by NASPA Go. And thank you very much to Morris, to Annette, the people behind the scenes, and congratulations to Joey for being in first place at the moment. But like you said, there's a lot of Scrabble to come, and I'm excited, as I'm sure all of you are, to continue watching.
Yep, thanks for joining us, Jared. Always a good time.
Yeah. Take care, guys.
Yeah, you too.